All right, let's do it. Good. All right. I'm glad we are good. I'm going to call the meeting, March 9th, 2017 meeting to order. And immediately thereafter, in order for us to have a quorum, we are going to, at this time, and it's my distinct pleasure, to administer the oath of office to our newest member, Vicki Violet. Okay, Vicki? If you will repeat after me, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
I, Vicki Violet,
I, Vicki Violet,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Office of Director
the Office of Director
of the Clinton Utilities Board
of the Clinton Utilities Board
of the City of Clinton, Tennessee,
of the City of Clinton, Tennessee,
which office I am about to assume,
which office I am about to assume,
and that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the State of Tennessee,
and of the State of Tennessee,
so help me God.
so help me God.
You are officially sworn in and a member, and we are tickled to death to have you on board.
Thank you, it's my privilege.
Thank you. Okay, now that we do have a quorum,
Just got married.
we can move on to
I thought we were.
item number 4, because number 3 is public comment session. We have no members of the general public here at this time. So, the next item of business is the approval of the minutes of our prior meeting. We have had the opportunity to examine those in our board packet. Are there any questions, additions, and/or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion and for a second for their approval.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign. If you got your agenda, we are going to make one modification. We're going to move item number 8, which is the review of the pension plan. I've got it labeled as I usually do, instead of 4.5, because we're putting it in between 4 and 5. Mr. Cross, it's great to see you again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Make yourself at home, and we look forward to what you have to say.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate being here. I guess just for the record, my name is Bob Cross, President of the Southeast and Midwest for USI Consulting Group. I have with me a relationship manager, Ms. Callie McClure. Callie's been with me many, many years and is with me responsible for the for Clinton Utility Board plan. The reason we're here today is to go through 4 or 5 items. First of all, I'm saying generally speaking, the plan is in extraordinarily good shape. So this will be a very, very easy report to deliver. First thing that I think you have in front of me is something called a funding policy. We have made some revisions, and these modifications are all part of requirements by various regulatory bodies, just like you at the Utility Board are subject to regulations from many, many entities, so are we, and the retirement plan as well. So this funding policy is required by the state of Tennessee. There was an enactment several years ago. The state periodically will send out suggested modifications. This funding policy is in accordance with all of the state requirements. So the additions at the back are again, recommendations, suggestions, and we always, of course, follow those. But generally speaking, these are things that are already being done as part of the actual evaluation, and that's a process whereby we determine how much money the utility needs to contribute to the system on an annual basis, and also determine the financial position of the plan. So these just put and condense or put in writing what's required in terms of funding. There is an obligation on the part of the utility to make these contributions in accordance with this policy. So this, again, commits it to writing. And any of these, I'd be glad, I think they were in your board packet, be glad to answer any questions. There are no bad questions, believe me. So anything you'd like to know, be glad to run through it. That's the funding policy. And if we would ask the board to approve these, I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like to do these as they come up or all at one time, whichever you.
I believe that probably would be proper to approve them as they come up individually. So with that in mind, we have had the opportunity to review our funding policy for the retirement plan. Are there any additions, questions that you may have? If there are not any questions, then I would call for a motion and a second for the approval of the funding policy for the board's retirement plan, or the company's retirement plan, rather. So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Mr.
Thank you.
Cross.
The second item is the plan document, and these changes are even more, even more minor. I guess that's the right grammar. I think you have, again, a red-lined version. As we went through, and the key is on page 29, section 7.5. This provision was added. Everything else just kind of is a cleanup by our attorneys, a review, since we were doing this amendment of this change. She went through and came up with a couple of things that said, great, whatever needs to be done. What this does is commit in writing rights for the employee, protection on the pension plan in accordance with both federal court rulings, state court rulings, and IRS guidelines. So it's a simple paragraph or simple sentence, but again, we recommend it just be incorporated into the plan, and the rest of it is just housekeeping. So again, I'd be glad to answer any questions with respect to the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Cross.
You're welcome.
Again, we have the pension plan. We've heard the amendment. And I would like at this time to ask if there are any questions relative to, relative to the pension plan.
So 7.5 is the only thing that has changed or been added to since
That's correct.
last year?
That's
Okay.
correct.
But that was still the policy last year, it just wasn't in writing, is that correct?
This just amplifies that to some degree because there have been some court cases and other decisions that have been made during that period of time. Unfortunately, with all of these plans, every year, every 18 months, every 2 years, there's something going on somewhere. When I first started doing this, plans were 10 pages long, very simple, and now, you can see,
Right.
they're just increasingly complicated.
There's a
they've
vesting
had to-
schedule, see, and when does an employee become vested? And all of the documentation.
not changed.
No,
That-
that
it's
we've
just-
given them.
Okay.
After 5 years, they become fully vested. There's a portion up to those 5 years, so.
Right.
So this just memorializes what we've been going on, because they're saying if it's ever challenged in court, where is it in writing? And this is what
Perfect.
we've been doing since we started this thing on day one. How do we get, when do you become vested? So if you work here for 2 years, you're not fully vested
Right,
until after 5.
absolutely, okay. I just want to make sure that nothing had changed with that it was just, basically, we've included it in the documents.
We've clarified that to make it part of the document.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, then I will ask for a motion and second for the approval of the pension plan.
I'll make a motion to approve the pension plan.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Like sign.
All right,
Mr.
so
Cross.
So I think the next item, wanted to review the actual evaluation, and again, I think you have a copy of this? Or no? Well, they have a copy? Yes. Okay. If you'll turn,
We give them everything.
if you'll turn to page 1,
I've got two copies.
Lucky you.
It's one I printed out.
and these are the key figures, but they're really one or two that are of significance, I think, are the most important, kind of a bottom line. If you look at the very top, the minimum contribution as of June 30th, 2015 was $989,000. That's actually declined to the beginning of this current fiscal year. That's always a great thing. So contributions have declined for the pension plan, and the funded ratio has increased as well. So in all categories, ideally, you'd like to see a situation where contributions are stable or declining. Not a lot, but still very stable.
Minimum contribution.
Minimum contribution, thank you, Greg. And then the funded ratio, the goal there is always to be at least 80%. And we'll talk a little bit about the accounting statement in just a minute. This is, from an actuarial perspective, the requirements to fund the plan and keep it financially secure. And the measurement has always been forever to be at an 80% funded level. What that means is you compare assets to the accrued liabilities of an individual, and in this case, all the individuals. And the accrued liability is past service and current pay. So you look at that worth in terms of, we know that benefit is payable at retirement, you discount it back, and you obtain the present value for every person of all the benefits earned to date in the plan. And you want that to be 80% or better, because you know contributions are going to continue. This is a utility. Contributions will be made to the plan on an ongoing basis. So all in all, this plan is in great shape. Just as another note, the assets here as of June 30th, 2016, $9,493,000 with a market run-up. And we do provide investment advisory services for the plan as well, are $10.2 million. So we've had an $800,000 gain in assets of the plan just in a relatively short period of time. So obviously the funded ratio is going to be even better as a result of that market uptick. Another note, the rate of return, 5-year rate of return for the plan, 7.37%. So again, we continue. Last year, the performance was 8.25% on a calendar year basis. So investment performance also continues to be quite strong. So any questions about the valuation? And if you've had a chance to look at it in your board packet, but everything's in great shape with respect to the plan. So.
I've got a question about the minimum employer contribution. It went down. Is that because the workforce is maybe a younger workforce in the total pension part? I mean, could that be a reason why? Is that?
In part, there are a variety of, I always want to make sure it's an accurate answer.
Participation.
Let me just look at one thing.
Yeah.
Well, you're looking
Right.
at it, Bob. I'll tell them why.
No, we didn't.
Don't you love him, Bob?
I do, actually.
The minimum contribution, the required actuarial minimum contribution is set at X. We have always paid more
X
than
plus.
X.
X plus.
That's right. So that has compounded. Last year, we played X plus a lot. So when you roll all of that out into those numbers, then your required contribution has dipped because
Because of your pluses in the
of the
previous years.
pluses. That's what he's going to tell us in about a minute.
is correct.
There you go.
Which,
You-
when you look at that, in addition to the number of participants, we've got more participants than we had last year, which means we're putting in even more, which I commend CUB for doing that. And I mean,
We've
it
always
helps-
done that.
It helps with employee retention. I mean, that's a benefit that.
There's
they
no
don't get
question
everywhere.
about that. And again, you constantly value the healthy plan, and 80% is not the minimum that you shoot for. That is exceptionally great. I'm telling you, our friends in counties that we could shoot a 22 to,
Well, that's the
Our-
investment team's goal, is
that's exactly right. So, I mean, they're looking at.
CUB's investment team.
They would love to get to 60%, you know. I mean, there are some that rival the national debt. They're so far behind. So 80% isn't we're just trying to get our nose across that goal. That is really, we're in great shape there, because to do anything different, to do much different, you know, then what you're taking today's dollars and you're putting them aside artificially. Sooner or later, you're going to have that actuarial minimum requirement is going to dip very low, because essentially you're almost overfunding, you know, what you do. It's like paying ahead on your mortgage on your house. After a while, your house is not only going to be paid for, they're going to owe you money. So when we use ratepayers' money, we only want to use that proportionately to what's appropriate for the workforce in place at the time. We're not trying to future fund employee benefits with current ratepayer dollars. So we constantly try to balance that out.
And I
So-
would say I commend the board for the financial commitment to the retirement plan. It's always been there, and obviously, employees appreciate that. Public, I know, appreciates that, so that's, and just as an example, one city far to the west, contributions are 22 million. A couple of years, they contributed 3 million. So it doesn't take very long with that math to see that you end up in trouble.
But
So-
for that year, the people that are in charge looked really well. Do you say? Because costs were down, cash was up. So you pay, if you're not committed to appropriate funding, then you're going to get so far sideways that in order to catch up, there's going to be an unfair burden at some level, you know.
Exactly.
And we are not and never have been in that situation.
Correct. So,
I had a question, just out of curiosity. I assume all of our employees are in the pension plans?
All the full-time employees, everyone that qualifies
Okay.
is in the plan.
Okay.
Which is a great question, because years ago, it was an option, and there were good, smart people that opted not to be in, you know. Well, we have one, isn't that right? One that years ago opted out. Well, then he did get in.
We had more than one years
Right.
ago, and then you pressed a few of them to get in. You talked to them.
I brought him in. It was like a counseling session, you know, because it just didn't make any sense. But now everybody's in. Everybody's in.
I couldn't imagine anybody not being in, but I just wondered if that was an option or a requirement.
There
how
were
we should-
people that tried to refuse free life insurance.
Yeah.
You're smiling, that's 100%.
no,
I mean, because if they told me that if they took the life insurance, then they were essentially signing their death warrant, because they then were going to die, because they didn't think they were ever going to die. So I'm saying to myself,
Are you
do
living
you
in a
really
realistic
want
world?
that person working here? I'm just saying, we ought to put that on the test for employment. Do you think you're ever going to die?
Let's get him up on the pole.
That's exactly right. That's 100% true. Am I right, Dudley? I'm not
no,
lying.
that actuarial number is 1.
Right, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That sounds like one of my boys right here.
It's 100% true.
Probably any teenager anyway. They are immortal. That's correct.
We help them though.
So that's the valuation report, all great news. So I think we had one other thing to go through, that's the auditor's report. And let's turn to page 17, again.
Bob, do they need to approve that or just approve to accept it, or is
I
that
would say
just
a
information?
Good point, I'd say approve to accept it, probably
Okay.
be, most boards that I, varies, but most of them would do that, yes.
All right. We will word it in that fashion, and that is, a motion is required and requested, please, to accept the actuarial valuation rather, of the defined benefit plan for CUB.
And second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign, please.
Okay, and bear with me on this next one. Page 17. Again, just bottom line. Just so you know, again, when I first started doing this, and my son says I knew Moses personally, by the way, but first started doing this, valuation reports were 6 or 8 pages long, and now they're much, much longer, obviously. So that's the report you just looked at. The audit report is now, is actually not required. There's some numbers in here. It's called GASB 6768, not mandated, but the utility does it because they think it's good practice. We recommend that. And of course, they go through this audit on an annual basis. This is an accounting process, so it's just a means of recognizing the liability in a certain manner. And the reason this was implemented is to provide a comparative basis between different retirement plans or different systems. So the process is the same, or should be the same from plan to plan. So it's accounting as opposed to cash, if you will. Cash is king. So this is your cash requirement. This is just how it's accounting for. It's all going to end up at the same place ultimately, but again, just a different process. So the figure I would draw you to, which I would draw your attention, a couple of things. The item that says fiduciary net, plan fiduciary net position, ending B. Okay, all that is a market value of assets. And you see it declines from period to period, distributions occur. Right now, your assets are almost $10.3 million. So if you drop down now to see this figure, 55, 60, 61. So these figures are going to vary from year to year as a basis of assets. And similarly, the one on the bottom is going to vary from year to year. So the accounting process, people get driven to these numbers, and there's a misinterpretation of what they really mean. And the most important thing, the actuarial process involves smoothing of liabilities, smoothing of assets over a period of time to give you consistent funding, consistent contributions, cash. This is an accounting process, and it's going to vary significantly as assets change. So I'm not saying this is not meaningful, but it's just a different process. There's nothing in here that gives us any alarm, gives us any concern. We recommend acceptance of the report. So I'd be glad again to answer any questions.
The actuarial is a projection and is a good projection, a good sound looking forward in what needs to be contributed. This is what's actually happened though, right? Is that what you're trying
That's
to say?
what's
Is
actually-
that, in layman's terms, is that
Yes,
kind of
think of it as if you think of the liability as a pie. So you got a big pie, and the actuarial, that 80% figure is this piece of the pie that's based on past service and current pay. The accounting process takes that pie, slices it different, It takes that past service, but it uses projected pay, projected whether you're going to reach retirement. Are you going to die before you get to retirement? Are you going to get disabled? Are you going to leave? So that pie is different, and the slice of the pie is different. So again, it's just a different process. So
Think of it as one is a snapshot.
Right.
And two is the end game. So if you bought your house and at any given day you take a snapshot and you say, well, my liability is $150,000. That's what I owe. Oh my God.
Right now.
You know, that's right. Even though I paid my rent or paid my mortgage every month on time. The actuarial says if you pay on time, at the end of this 30 years, you will own that asset. In other words, you won't owe anything, do you see? So one says, I'm looking at your payments over time, and everything looks great, and at the end of this, because you need to have it paid off in 30 years, you're going to have it paid off. But if you want to know what you owe today, and now we've got to close up shop and pay everything that could potentially ever be owed, then that's what your mortgage is now, and you've got to write a check for that, you see. So essentially, we could do that, but it would make no more sense to do that than it would be for you to write a check and pay your home off if you had that kind of money.
all right, you're good.
Snapshots, metaphor. Wait till I get into Walmart, metaphor. I'm telling you, that'll be a whole different ballgame.
Wait till you get his bill, Bob.
If you see this percentage trending up, that's not a concern.
No, my gut is unless the markets, really fall off, it's going to go down. So
Next year.
this coming back, it's going to go down.
In 2017, unless something
Correct.
crazy
Unless
happens
something-
then.
Right, you're right. Because you've had a very, very good year so far. The last January and February have been outstanding, so.
This you get into the GASBs. You get into GASB, and that's really, it's thrown everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone is just dying over this GASB. There are some, because they can't explain that in snapshots and mortgage payments, they're so concerned that there is now a liability on the books that wasn't there before. Your sick leave used to not be on the
Yeah,
books,
now you
but
should.
now it is on the books. I don't think it's a bad thing. It just has to be understood on how that application is. And for those that can't explain it, they try to pay it down. I know one company, utility, that borrowed money to essentially pay off the house. So they could say we have no liability at all, because they thought that's a good thing, where I would argue as a board, that was not a wise thing to do. It's not good for the ratepayers. It's not good for the employees. And what you're doing is you're borrowing money to make a pencil entry look better. And that never makes sense.
Yeah, and as you know now, in the state of Tennessee, that would be a no-no.
Against the law.
Against the law.
That's right.
Arbitrage is not permitted, right. So, yeah, that would be bad.
What's it called again?
Arbitrage.
Arbitrage, yeah, bad, yeah. Any questions with respect to the accounting statement?
To clarify, Brown
She's doing
Jake,
my job now, so any question? No, Bob, I'm just kidding you. We're having fun here.
clarify, Brown Jake McDaniel does this audit.
Thank you.
But Bob gives them all the information that they audit, so he's a better one to ask questions than them, so.
And
But
by the
it
way,
is a clean
Brown,
audit, so.
Brown, they're really good, as you know, very good firm. They do a lot of audits for a lot of clients that we work with, very good people.
Are there any questions? If not, then I would ask for a motion and a second for the approval of the auditor's report on our pension plan.
Second.
We have motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed by like sign.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bob.
See you all next year. I
Bob,
hope.
thank you,
God
Kelly.
willing.
Good to see you again. Thank you. And we
Thanks.
certainly appreciate you all.
Well, likewise.
Drive
Thank you.
safely. Have a good evening.
Thank you all. Good to see you.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, now we're gonna catch our breath here, and we're gonna say we've gone through items 1 through 4.5, because that's what I labeled 8.
Do you want us to just
And-
change that in the future?
Yes.
We'll just
I
change
would
that in the
like-
future.
I was gonna say, unless that I hear an objection, I would like any time that we have someone that is a guest and is bringing a report that the board needs to act on, I would like for that to be
It's a
immediately
nice courtesy.
behind the item number 3, the public comment session. I would like for that to be item number 4.
We'll do it, thank you.
And then, of course, whoever follows me, they can decide if that's the way they want to keep it or what have you. But I think that's a great idea. Okay. Let's move on then to the approval of the vouchers. We have all had the opportunity to review the vouchers for both the electric and water department. And at this time, I will entertain any questions that there may be and any comments in regard to the vouchers. Since I do not hear any comments or questions, I will ask for a motion and a second for the approval of the vouchers.
Motion for approval.
Second. We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Let's move on then to item number 6, and we'll call on Mr. Fagan for the review, and then, of course, subsequently to that review, the approval of the monthly reports for January.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. In front of you, you have the revenue and expense summary for the month of January. Electric department had a net income of $374,000, and the water and sewer department had a loss of $10,000. For year to date, the electric department is now at $1.9 million. That's $700,000 ahead of the forecast, and the water department is at $19,000, which is 105 behind the forecast. As we explained last month, that was a lot of the capital projects Dan is planning on doing this spring. He was just hammered with a lot of expense items through the fall. So that's the reason that's so far behind. Electric department is ahead, but I do want to show you real quickly this nice little chart right here. And the blue is this year, the red is last year, and the yellow is a 10-year average, and these are degree days. Surprisingly, January revenue was high, even though that, but the way we read meters, you got to remember when we read meters, we don't read them all at the last day of the month. We read everybody different times of the month, so that window of everybody's bill moves through the month, so you get some overlap. So I'm thinking a lot of the reason the electric department had a good net income was because of this December. But now we're going to come into getting a lot of this January billing and this February billing, and you see, and it's to no surprise, I'm sitting here in short sleeves, that it's been really mild. So I expect that we may not have a great net incomes come next month or two. But
Well, it'll be
It's all
more in
gonna
line,
change tomorrow.
but you never
more in
know.
line with the budget,
That's right, and bring that
Kinda true it
number-
up, won't
that
it?
number back. That's correct, and that's what I say all the time. You hear me say we generally have one big season and one mild season. Rarely do you have two big seasons. So, but that's pretty much it. I mean, your expenses are anytime you see a positive number, that's a good thing. So the electric department's expenses are $260,000 under what we'd forecasted, and a lot of that's got to do with the weather too, because we had to send crews out in the middle of the night to repair lines and things. So all's good. Both departments are financially sound, and I'm not worried about either one. So if you get any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
How's your walk-up? I went out there and pressed some buttons on it as far as I could go. Your walk-up to where you pay your bill. How's that? Is it getting a little bit of use?
It is. With our prepay program, we expect that to be a pretty hot item, and we've actually got this same company is gonna put two out in our retail market, one in Lake City at, the Fast Stop in Lake City.
Close to Rocky Top?
Yes, yes, yes. And they're gonna put one in Oliver Springs at the Marathon in Oliver Springs, and that way these customers won't have to drive into here to make payments. They accept cash, check, and credit card. So, that's gonna be a good thing for our customers, especially since SunTrust in Lake City quit taking our payments, and they used to take a lot, so we expect that'll be a pretty good item for them.
Do we not have a large number of people that are paying online?
We do. We have several that pay online, but you can't pay cash online.
Gotcha.
And we also offer at Walmart you can pay with MoneyGram, and you can pay cash there at the Walmart, any Walmart in the country. You can pay cash, and CVS also. Not all the CVS, but most of them. So they can pay there, and it instantly posts. And the necessity to instantly post is if your power's off when you get home at 6 o'clock, you want that payment to instantly post so it will automatically turn back on. And
So
that's-
if your power was off and you walked up out here and you had you paid,
if you are off for non-pay,
if you're off for non-pay at 6:30 tonight, for instance, and you walk up to pay, it automatically posts at 6, there's probably a little lag time, but.
not much.
But within just a few minutes,
It's going.
It's back on.
It's going. If you're a prepaid customer, and
Yeah,
we
okay.
have that set, yes.
yeah.
Now, a traditional customer, it won't automatically turn them back on because it doesn't know exactly how much they owe and
It
what.
didn't automatically turn them off.
Right.
You see, we have to be in that kind of
It
relationship.
has to be in that mode.
That's
where
right.
That's
their-
right.
Their $50 worth ran out at 5 o'clock this afternoon, and they came by here at 6 o'clock and put $50 more or $20 or whatever.
Things are different for prepay and non-prepay or a traditional customer on how we handle that. So you get a prepay customer and they have no security.
Right, no deposit.
There is no trip fees or late charges or anything associated with that. It's been a real benefit for those customers that this fits really well with. We think we've saved them a lot of money, and we're going to save them over time a lot more. But what they don't get is a grace period. There is no grace period for where they go over on the weekend and things like. When the gas tank is empty, that's what happens. But then instantaneously, essentially, within a very short period of time, they'll be able to load that back up, and they load it up with, you can scrounge $25 together, and that gets you a long time. 10 100-watt bulbs on for an hour cost you about 11 cents. So you can really husband that your power once you know that it's draining. You can slow that spigot down.
I'm sitting here
for
thinking,
leaving lights on.
I'm
Now-
gonna, can you give me some more numbers?
Well,
I'm gonna put jars outside all their rooms.
Well, what a deal, though. What a deal, because you're not running a 100-watt bulb, and the LEDs are even less than that's how many watts you
tell them
use.
that.
Do you see? So what a deal to have for 11 cents. It's just,
I've seen a $2 payment in that machine out there. Somebody walked up, paid $2, and that was somebody that just wanted to just keep it in the positive, because as long as it's in the positive, your lights are on. And they can come up with $2, $5, $10, but they couldn't in a traditional bill. They would be $200 behind, and they
or
just
more,
couldn't do it.
or more.
Reconnection fee and
You
all
do,
the other stuff.
and for trip fees to go out there and things like that. When Dudley and I talked about how can we better serve the least of these, so to speak, what was killing them, in a year's time, a month's worth of power was paid in trip fees and reconnect
Right,
fees.
right.
So those at least can afford it, they're getting like a double shot of that. If you do it this way, and they love it, many do. I mean, we don't get complaints about it. I mean, they're really, they love it because they have a lot more control. When they are surprised at the end of the month because it's been a cold month and they turn the little heater on in the bathroom, you know, the old ones have that sealed heat and things like that, they get a $480 bill. They cannot swallow that, you know, but they can check, and they all have cell phones, smartphones. They can check on that app on that smartphone, and they can almost essentially watch it go down. You know, turn a TV off, you know, because you know that's too much, or turn the thermostat up in the summer or down in the winter, and it'll slow that down. It's a great thing.
They are our most knowledgeable customers on how much they use.
Oh, no doubt.
Because they monitor it. Because none of these customers have $300 credit right now.
Right.
You know, they're all running really close, but as long as they're ahead, that's the goal.
But our write-offs this past year was the first year that we begin to see the impact.
This was the second.
Second
Yeah,
year.
but
Second
this
year.
this write-off last year was the first full year. So we had a whole year's worth of,
This is the second year.
well, we have 2 years worth of information associated
I
with that.
remember last year was
And-
really good.
Yeah.
And what was our net write-off? Do you remember 50-some
Right
thousand?
at 50-something thousand.
Right.
You know, whereas before we were in the 300.
I was gonna say, we've
But,
been in the
but,
290s to the
but when you're,
330s.
even when you're rocking
have.
85 million and you're in the 300,000, that's a great number on anybody's scale of write-off, do you say? But to get it down to 50-some thousand,
Right.
and part of this reason is because we don't give them an opportunity to fail, you know?
So the other two will be installed like soon or
Yes, hopefully in the next
weeks,
month.
months?
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to try one out. You know, we had our own people put that, I mean, does it
Right.
not look professional?
Well, they were here the last time, they were working on our
Right.
last
I mean,
meeting.
does I mean, it just looks great, you know? So, yeah, we know,
These other two are indoor machines. They won't be outside, which
so it'll look like a Coke machine,
Right.
essentially.
It just sits in there like an ATM,
Yeah,
basically.
right.
So they don't get the 24-hour service, but here, you know, that's the purpose of this one. If you're really desperate, you can drive right here, you know, but hopefully you can get to one of these other places before 10 o'clock at night.
And it's again about service. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we invested the money into that, to get it out to Rocky Top and to get it out to Oliver Springs, you know, so they'll have, that's right. They'll be able to, it's as convenient as we know how to make it.
That's good.
Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion and a second for the approval of the monthly reports for the month of January.
I make that motion?
Second.
I have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Like sign. Well, looks like, Greg, we're gonna move on to you.
Project status.
You're gonna report.
Easy to
project
do. We
status
don't have
report.
any for water, which means we don't have any budgetary projects that are ongoing at this time. But we do have 5 in electric. All of these are capital projects, all that we have budgeted for back at the beginning of last year. And all of them are relatively right on target with the budget, and they're all on time target with the construction start and the completion time. So on budget, on time is really what we are on all of these projects. And I will say that, and I think it's important on this DVR. Now that's dynamic voltage regulation, which we have. We're coming off of a record month last month, which we had 102,000. We had 77,000. That's right, Dudley, on that chart. We had $77,000 this month. So that's 77,000 that we didn't have to pay in these charges. As you can see, if you get me back to that,
You want to go back to
Actually,
that
102.
hump?
Yes, go back.
Because really, you're at 102.
You're at 102,000.
If you will get me back to that. Thank you
Get
so
him back
much.
there.
Thank you so much. This is regulation on voltage. So what we do, and a little bit will be for our new board member to give her a little bit of insight on how this works. What TVA charges us, we have two entities. We've got energy and we've got demand.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Mr. Chairman.
We have energy
Houston,
and we have demand. This represents
grandson's birthday.
what demand is. And TVA charges us in any one given hour where we have a peak demand, it's $9.85 per kW, and a kW is 1,000 watts. And it's different than the light bulbs, because that's energy, that's kWh. That's 1,000 watts per hour. This is like pressure in a garden hose. You've got volume running through, and you've got PSI, So the pressure is what this regulates, and that is what we try to trim, because at $9.85 a 1,000 watts, it's significant when we're talking, now we're into megawatts, which is 1,000,000 watts, 7.83. So we've trimmed that in red, and that in red we didn't have to pay. So that is $77,000 worth of avoided cost because we've trimmed that top. TVA didn't get. Now we couple that, which is where Dudley was trying to get to, with this DPP, and that's this Demand Partnership Program, which we have with ACWA, we've got with Clinton Hardwoods, we've got with even our own sewer plant is on that. We've got Hallsdale Powell, on that. Those add, and of course, that's coming off of a record month, which we had last month at 29,000. We had 20,000 this time. You couple that with our Smart Switch, which you may be familiar with. That's the hot water heaters in the pool. That's another 4,800. So for this month, what the impact to our ratepayers, because of our ability to regulate voltage for residential, to have a program with an agreed upon avoidance of usage at certain particular times, that our partners, these general power or commercial partners, work with us on, we have saved $102,000. Last month, we saved $136,000, which is in a month's time is really good. And when we started the capability of this back in April of 2011, we're up almost to $5 million, $4 million something, in savings with these programs, and that's only going to increase because our network of partners is also increasing. So direct load control, virtual power plant is what we call that, and that, if you can get that slide up here, that would be great.
I'm not sure what you're looking for.
I'm looking for the virtual power plant. There we go. This right here, as you look to the left on your screen, this is how it stacks up with this DVR, and this is dynamic voltage regulation in the blue. And then as you go up, you've got the DPP, which is our partnership with the different commercial companies. And then you've got our ability with the Smart Switch, which touches hot water heaters and pools and things like that. All of that combined is where we can get, for this month, $102,000. And that's real dollars in savings to our ratepayers, which I can tell you our sister utilities cannot do. So this is money for our service area that is not being duplicated by many utilities. We were the first utility of the 155 to do the virtual power plant. We were the first utility of the 155 to do dynamic voltage regulation. We were the first utility of the 155 to offer the DPP program to commercial customers. So all of that, then we have those folks coming to us and we share that at meetings, and we've been to California and to Texas and everywhere else for public power to empower public utilities in order to provide this kind of service. Now, this investment, in order for us to get to that, was millions of dollars. I mean, and the first step to that was intelligent metering, which we took on many years ago. We did a business model for that, and payback, and in terms of cash, was less than 3 years, and full payback was less than 8, if I remember. So all of that then rolls to savings for our ratepayers. So I mean, that's a big thing, is what I'm trying to say, and it's an ongoing gift that continues to give.
Every one of us here over the last 2 months, because I went and I added the last 2 months together and divided it by the number of customers that we had. You say, well, say Vicky's household last 2 months, $8. Even with those crazy teenagers, save you $8. All of us $8. Well, you say, well, $8, that isn't a whole lot. But when you multiply that by 29,874 customers, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot
That's a
of money.
very good thing.
A gift that keeps on giving.
And as I was telling Vicki, and I hope that all of us, and I know that we get more aware all the time about how that our management staff and engineers and everything are constantly looking to provide the best service at the best possible cost. And that's what, as a board, we're supposed to do, is support them and make sure that that is the continued endeavor. And I'm shutting up.
That's, you're exactly right. That's what we try to do. But the reality of the contribution that this makes, I don't think can be overstated. Which is why we continue to put that, and even though it becomes over time maybe a yawn, but it's a success that not only are we proud of, but that we can validate in terms of dollars and savings to the customers every month, and with the award, because we were the first to do that, and TVA awarded us $3.5 million. So you put the $3.5 million on top of the $4 million, and now you're looking at pushing $8 million, and that's since 2011. And that number, again, is just going to grow. Closing report, these are both pending, and they're both in budget, so I don't have anything to say on that, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We've already, of course, covered item number 8. Move on to item number 9 there, other business.
I have none.
I do have one thing that I'd like to go ahead and throw out here, and I'm not sure what, if anything, we can do. This week, some of y'all may know Jason Brown, City of Clinton, Recreation Department, rather. We've participated with the City of Clinton in the 4th of July celebration that is down at Lakefront Park. And of course, he came by and said, I'd like to see if I can get you all to increase contribution, because, I've given you some information here of like what we're spending and what we're doing, and, we really had a great show, which I know they did. I said, JB, I don't even know if, the way things are moving, I don't know if that's something we can do.
Do you want my opinion? It's against the law.
Okay.
It's against the law. We're not even going.
That's what I told him.
And it is just an unfortunate crying shame, and I don't agree with it at all.
And I pretty much told him both.
It is frustrating. I met with a really great citizen yesterday that had a very meaningful opportunity to where historically we would have been able to be a participant in that, and we were, unable to do that. This time, Relay for Life you know, which we've always been a supporter of. This company's put $1,000 in to jumpstart that and things like that because of the law, and that they have made us aware of.
Handcuffed.
We are handcuffed. We were not even going to be able to do that. So we are going to be able to put a bucket truck for the schools, the elementary schools. They've got a career day, and we're going to be able to do that. But in terms of writing a check, unless it's rate education or something like that, you know, we just, by law, we can't do it. Now, some utilities are still doing that. So, I mean, I'll be clear, they're still doing that. The city asks for something, and they do that. To me, that they're just waiting for the audit to hit. You know, Morristown did that, and the city had to pay the utility over $1 million because they backed it up, and they charged them for every little thing that you could
In-kind
possibly,
service.
you know. So
Can you do me a favor? Can you get me, because I mean, I'd like to make note, and I don't mind in
we've
our
got a
council-
DVD.
Well, in our council meeting, that's it, it's a law, it's a TCA code or something, isn't it? That where the electric companies cannot, but for some reason gas companies can or
No,
something,
no,
is that
not
right?
even that. No, I mean, we cannot, because we're in monopoly, we cannot promote ourselves. I mean, what is the phrase that they use to us?
Goodwill, you can't buy goodwill
You,
because.
you can't buy goodwill, and he says you're not a car
Yeah,
dealership.
you're not a car dealership.
Right.
Okay,
So, I mean, that's directly coming from these folks.
I just
And then
want-
they did for the utility industry. We have the meetings where the state comes in, and I sent a DVD down to the city.
Okay.
You know, of that meeting where the state went up and said free was a 4-letter word, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, so that's when the vehicles, when we were able to, because we were happy to do that.
Right.
And I think it's a good thing. The school system benefited from that, and I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's being what I call a community corporate citizen. But we don't do it because it's against the law. Others that do it are waiting, I believe, for the audit to come, and when that, because I think they're making a poor choice.
I mean, we tried to argue that, you know, advertising, no, that's not advertising. You had,
I just want to make sure that the message gets construed and gets conveyed well, and I don't mind to try to help that at council meeting, and I'll try to publicly read a little statement or something that it's
I
not
think
that,
Greg's had sent an email to all the board, you weren't on the board.
not a
then,
wish that we
talked
do.
about
Yeah, I remember
the
that.
steps we went through and to try to
But-
get that. and
but-
Just to
their
maintain that
response.
relationship with the city, and
Right.
so that no one.
And that it's out on a public, TV that we're
Right.
not, yeah. I'll get with you all and I'll find that, or if you can help me find
We'll
that.
find
I
it.
remember
We'll find
that.
it.
Sure.
Find it and send it to me, and I'll read a couple I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read 2 or 3 sentences from it to just make sure that message gets conveyed that,
We talked to him on the phone and he was just, no. He said,
Well-
y'all can call him if you want to, but that's not
Oh, no.
proper use of funds.
oh, and I
So-
can understand that. I mean, I know. The time we live in, it's the climate in which we live. It's the-
Well,
it's the post-Enron age, after everything changed with Enron.
Well, the truth of the matter is that there were utilities, there's utility districts, and there's municipal utilities, and there's co-ops. And the oversight comes with the co-ops, and most of the oversight comes at the municipals, and the least oversight comes at the district level. So there were absolutely, unquestionably abuses at the district level, utility district level. And the state, rightfully so, in order to protect the ratepayers of that utility district, were draconian in how funds could be used. And that, unfortunately, was applied to all utilities, you see, which includes the co-ops and it includes municipals, I mean, we've always been good stewards of ratepayers' money, and we've always tried to be a good corporate citizen. So there was nothing that this utility ever did or was ever called on for doing anything, you know. But going forward, you know, the problem is going forward, that's when we were happy to, for the cities that we served, we were putting up Christmas lights. We were doing it at different cities and stuff like that, and doing street light bulb replacement. We did it for all the municipalities that we served, and we're happy to do it. We cannot do any of that. We cannot do any of that. The general manager of the utility can be held criminally responsible for this, for actions like that, is what I was told, which is the big guy right here. And I just don't look good in stripes or orange or whatever that the going color is.
Uh-oh. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get that collected. If you give me $10.
So we'll get whatever we can help
Just
you.
help me get 2 or 3 sentences
Yes, and we
together.
appreciate that, because I would think that certainly the mayor and well, certainly Roger is fully
Right,
up
we
to
just
speed on
need
that.
to-
That
need
way
to-
you've
need
got
to
a public
remind-
forum.
Need to
there, too.
remind them and just say,
Right.
hey, this isn't because.
Because we did it last year.
Right, now, because we don't want to. but
That's
here's-
right.
Here's the
That's right.
reasoning. Yeah.
Well, and more than them, the people such as Jason, who's come out and asked for this assistance and may not understand the law and what we've been told. We want to make
Well,
sure that
when
everybody's
they
informed.
said-
That's kind of my thoughts, to make sure that
When
those people.
when they say, well, I know that another utility, and there's always somebody doing something.
Oh, yeah.
They do it.
I have
you know.
that. I have that in my business. People want to get a prescription filled 4
Yeah.
days early, and you say you can't.
Well,
Well,
then-
so-and-so.
So-and-so did it.
Well, if that's their license,
Then
if
you
they,
need to
if
go
they,
there,
If they
you
want
know.
to take a chance
That,
on their
and
license,
that's
they
it.
can.
That's it. Wherever the straight and narrow is really where we try to stay, you know, to the best of our knowledge. We want to stay right in the center of the road,
Right.
you know.
I think that will be a good way to get the message to the community, and I really, from you to city council and out on TV, then it's
Right.
not that we don't want to, it's that we can't.
Right. The fact is, we want to,
Right.
but we can't. That's right.
That's the only thing that I had. Now, Jim, you,
I'm good.
Penny? We're gonna do the $8. No, I'm just kidding. Vicky?
Oh, my.
I'm good.
Vicky's good. Well, guess what? We're all good.
the first.
And we are adjourned.
Through Vicky, through your first and through Vicky's
Thank you, Vicky.
Year.
I appreciate you
I mean,
jumping in there with
Penny's
motions
year.
and seconds. And I appreciate you coming up here and.
I'm excited
getting
about
oriented.
serving.
And
I'm
we're
excited about
excited to have
doing
you
all
on
this.
it.
told you the diabetics. I'm trying to watch what I eat, and they got me on that.
Dudley,
Trulicity.
do you know
I went
right
this
off-
week, though, and had my
do you-
blood work done, my A1C,
Dudley?
first time I've had it checked.
You know right off
Since
the bat what we
five
gave